Hi guys, well here it is, the TCL NX Frame TV. Finally on our wall here. Now, I'm going to give you guys a review of this TV, but this TV is actually a replacement for the HISENSE TV that we briefly had here. And the HISENSE TV was actually a replacement for the Samsung Frame TV that we also had on the wall here. So I'm going to give you a good comparison outline between all three of these products because we have had all three of these televisions here in the home here. Okay, so if you're watching this video, you're probably interested in getting this style of TV, which is designed to look like a piece of artwork or a photo frame on your wall when you're not watching it as a TV. Now, the Samsung Frame TV was really the first to the market with this style or concept, but we have subsequently had the HISENSE brand come to the market with a TV similar, and this TCL TV. So what I'm going to do is give you guys a bit of an outline as to what some of the differences are between these three brands, and I guess the reason why I've finally ended up with this TV, the TCL, as our final decision on the wall here. So the Samsung Frame TV had some good things about it. I like the fact that it had a separate box down here with one small cable. Was great for a concealed installation, but it has issues, and I would recommend you look at my Samsung Frame TV review with the links here on the screen or at the end of this video to understand what those limitations are and what my frustrations were. So we did actually end up buying a HISENSE TV to replace the Samsung. Now, the immediate problem I had with this HISENSE TV was that I discovered, as soon as we set it up at home here, that I could load a maximum of 30 photographs to your personal photo album on the HISENSE TV. Now that was a showstopper, a complete showstopper, because we want to be able to load hundreds of travel and family images like the photos you're seeing appear here behind us. So immediately the HISENSE TV was just a showstopper. So we actually took it straight back to the store and ended up trading to purchase the TCL TV here. Okay, with those HISENSE limitations on that one that we purchased, we went and picked up the TCL. I had a good look at the TCL and looked at the interface for loading photos, and it did look somewhat easier and better than the Samsung Frame TV. But there are some riders to that, and I'll explain those now. One of them is that there is a 100 photo limit on the TCL TV here to load your own personal photographs. Yes, you heard me correct. There is a limit of 100 photos maximum that you can load into the TCL TV. Now, that's not as bad as the HISENSE, which had a limit of 30, but it's still, I think, absolutely ridiculous for a TV like this that has this much memory storage to have a limitation of 100 photos that you can load of your own personal images. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, so once you've got some photos loaded onto this TV and you've set a transition, say, every 1 minute to switch from one photo or artwork to the next, there's a couple of issues with this. Firstly, it doesn't instantly switch to the next image. It actually does this sort of a fade in, fade out process, and it actually comes up with a message on the screen, resource loading. And here you will see exactly that appearing right now, that resources loading message. And that will happen each time it transitions to a new image. Okay, before I go any further with this review and demonstration, I do want to make it clear that one of the main objectives for us having a unit like this on the wall was to be able to display our own personal family photos and photo albums. There's so much digital content now we create at home and so many photos, and you don't want them hidden away in a cupboard or on a hard drive somewhere. You want to be able to see them. So we thought that this was a great way to get some of that all that digital camera content off all your phones and all your travel, and have it so we can keep seeing that and reliving our holiday adventures, etc. So that was a big part of what we wanted to achieve here. Now the question is, which of the TVs actually achieves that and allows us to do that well? Is it the Samsung Frame TV, the HISENSE, or this TCL TV? That's a big question. Actually, the quick answer is none of the three TVs work perfectly to achieve that. So if you're like us and you want to put a Frame TV on the wall and put your own photos on that TV, you need to be aware of a couple of issues. With the Samsung Frame TV, it was very tedious to load photos, in my opinion. Have a look at my video on that. The HISENSE TV had a limitation of 30 personal photos you could load to it, so it was just straight out a deal breaker straight away. The TCL TV here, it obviously does have some limitations as well in terms of its photo transitions, and it also has a limit of 100 photos. So in their raw form, none of these three televisions actually does what we want it to do. So before I go in and show you guys some of the clever additions we've done to make this TV work even better for our photo albums, I'm just going to show you in the native format how the TV works. It does allow you to do uploads from a USB stick, and it's quite straightforward, a lot easier than using the Samsung Frame TV. I would say the TCL, it's comparable to the HISENSE TV, fairly straightforward. As I've mentioned earlier, the Samsung Frame TV is quite tedious in that regard. Okay, so there is one other potentially quite big showstopper issue with the TCL TV relative to the Samsung Frame TV and the HISENSE TV. And this is having a motion sensor that will actually detect when people come into the room and leave the room, and it automatically turn the gallery images or photo images off and on so that you're not running the TV on 24 hours a day. The Samsung Frame TV does that pretty well. You walk in the room, the image comes on. If you leave the room, the screen image will actually go off, saving power and obviously saving wear on your screen. The TCL TV does not have any kind of motion sensor. So you're actually, if you're going to display artworks, you have to manually turn that on and activate it with the remote. And the only way for it to turn off in its native form is to potentially use an automated timer, which maybe is set at 2 hours. After 2 hours, it will automatically turn off. So in addition, the TCL, it does have some built-in options to create these collage-style photo just from what you've uploaded straight from your USB stick. It's quite nice, and you can see here this one's doing transitions. Again, this is better than what the Samsung Frame TV can do, in my opinion. But again, you are limited here to 100 photos maximum that you can have on this, loaded on this TV, using the inbuilt functionality of the TV. Just giving you a really quick view, a scroll through. These are actually the images that we have loaded directly to this TV, to its memory. There is 96 images here in total. And as I say, the limitation was, it was 100 photos, I believe, was the limitation we got to. So one other area I quickly want to touch on is the physical installation between these three brands, the Samsung Frame TV, HISENSE, and TCL. Now, I would say that probably the Samsung is probably the best or easiest installation in general, because it has two hook-on mounting points, the same as the TCL TV here, but it has just one single cable from that Samsung screen down into a separate control box. So all of your separate cabling can be hidden behind the wall or in a cabinet or something like that. I really like that part of that design of the Samsung. With the HISENSE and the TCL here, all of your cable connections are still onto the physical back of the television. So you need to create almost a cavity space or a way of getting all your individual cables and power cables up into that area behind the TV. And obviously when you do that physical installation and hang the TV on the wall, you're going to need to somehow get all those cables connected and hang it in one go. You're definitely going to need 2 or 3 people to do that. And in my particular case here, I was very fortunate we have a storage room behind this wall. So I was able to cut a large hole here, and I'll put the photo on the screen here, which allowed me to have a permanent access behind here to all the cable connections, so I can go in there, connect all those cables after we hung the TV on the wall here. So the next quick thing I want to talk about here briefly is the image quality in the screen itself with the TCL. Now, of course, this TV has a matte finish, unlike most of your modern OLED TVs, which have a very glossy reflective surface. Now, a lot of people will say if you're wanting to get a TV for watching TV and movies, a frame TV like this with a matte screen and this particular screen is not your best choice. I actually disagree with that, because we find here that we've got a relatively light living area here, and a normal TV with the reflective glass surface gets a lot of reflections on it, which completely distracts from watching whatever you're looking at on the TV as television, movie, or even still images here. So even for television and movies, I prefer this matte screen. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, but that's just my personal preference and opinion. So as I mentioned just a bit earlier, this TCL TV does not have a motion sensor to automatically turn on our photos or artworks as we walk in and out of the room here. And that to me is somewhat of a showstopper. So the question is, how do we actually get around that? Or how do I actually get around that? Now, a lot of your viewers out there may not be able to do this, but what I have actually done is I've connected a media player, which is a low cost about $30 or $40 media player, into the HDMI 4 port of this television. And what I have done is I have custom built a what's called a little Arduino programmable controller, which is down here. It's temporarily on test here at the moment. But that actually I have programmed up with a connection to a little infrared sensor here. Again, this is temporary. I'll have a nicer looking one here later that's more discreet. And this actually detects when anyone is in the room here and when there's nobody in the room here. And what I've done is I've actually programmed this up with infrared codes so that it actually, when it detects somebody coming into the room, it actually clicks through a sequence here, turning the TV on and onto that HDMI 4 input, which then brings up whatever photos we've got running on the separate media player here. So this is pretty complex stuff, and obviously not everyone's going to be interested in that, but I thought I'd just mention that. I'll probably make a separate video for that, and I'll put the link at the end of this video if you want to see that in more detail. So I'm actually going to turn the TV off right now using the standard remote control and pop it down there. Now, until somebody actually walks through the room here in front of that sensor, which I've now just done, that sensor has just picked up my motion. So it's actually turned the TV back on right now, and it's gone through a quick sequence there into the HDMI input there. And so what you're seeing right now are photos that are playing on this little external media player down here. I'll put some links about that at the end of the video also. So, but the great thing with doing that is that I can just plug in a little USB stick here, so I can sort and organize whatever photos that I want to, photos or artwork JPEGs, onto that USB stick. I can do that all on my computer, plug it into this external media player, and it will actually cycle through the images. In our case, I think I've set that to about every 8 minutes. I've manually just flipped that to another image here now. So it's not a standard function of this TCL TV, but it is the method that I have put together to operate like a Samsung Frame TV. So the $1 million question here, well, at least $2,000 question, is which one of these TV brands would I recommend for my friends to my friends to purchase. It actually depends a little bit on what you want to do and what's most important to you. If you want to load lots of your own personal photographs, as we do, I would say the Samsung Frame TV is not a great option. It's very tedious to load the photos. The TCL is much easier, and I would say the HISENSE is easier also. Now, the HISENSE has a limit of 30 photos maximum you can load if it's running on the Vida operating system. Now, the TCL, you have a limit of 100 photos that you can load internally of your personal images, but I do believe that the loading of the images and the functionality of creating your own little dynamic displays and combinations of photos together is actually quite nice on the TCL, better than the Samsung Frame TV in my opinion. So I would tend to recommend that if you want your own photos, if that's more the priority for you. If you want to use preloaded artworks and subscribe to art galleries, the Samsung Frame TV might work for you. Obviously, the other limitation with the TCL here is that lack of a motion sensor. So there you go, guys. There's no one perfect answer for everybody, but hopefully this is really useful information for you guys to go away and take a close look at those three brands of TV that are these frame-style picture frame TVs. So thanks for watching, guys, and if you do find this useful, if you can, click the like, maybe subscribe to my channel, really helps me out, and we'll see you guys again on the next one.